Hello everyone, so in this video I want to show you an interesting rocket design I have not seen anybody else do. I call this the SuperStack, and the goal here was to use the asparagus staging, basically throw away all the tanks as they empty, but I also wanted something very simple to build, something very repetitive that I could just cut and paste. So what you do in this rocket is, well, first of all, in order to minimize the number of parts, what you do is you use the biggest engine and 2 tanks, and you don't really have to use the cone here, but I did in my case. And so you start with the first one there, and then you put these 2 on the side, just these 2, and you set them up to stage correctly. And then you put the put the reinforcement bars so that they point towards the inside. And then once you got these 2 done, you can just cut and paste them, basically hold the Alt and paste them and have this one here and this one here, and then stage them correctly, and then repeat this one and this one, and you'll have your first line. Once you do that, then you basically go across here, and so you get this one and this one here, and then you start going across back, and then you do this again and go across back again. And you'll notice that I've taken the time to put these small separation thrusters on all of them and angle them correctly. So you can't, obviously when you start doing a new level, you need to have the right struts all set up. And at the end I put these 3 or 4 wings to control the spin. And of course we have plenty of engines and plenty of base attachments and so on. And at the top here I put a lot of torque power, and this is because once you're going to get into orbit, if you're good at keeping a trajectory and stuff, you should get 12 full tanks, 12 of these red tanks, and some completely full into low Kerbal orbit. So let's go ahead and launch this and see how much what launch we can do. Now it's going to take a while, and I do have a pretty fast computer with SSDs and stuff, and even then it takes a while since this is a lot of parts. But as we go, as we jettison parts, we're going to get lighter, and you'll notice that the first times you jettison parts, you don't get very far. We're gonna just barely take off, and we're already gonna have tanks that are gonna be empty. The other thing I didn't mention is that there's basically a long fuel line, so that the last tank always empties first, and then you jettison that one, and then the next one jettisons, and so on and so forth. So you have a very long line of tanks being jettisoned. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and put the throttle up to a certain amount. Let's see if I can do this. Okay, and you'll notice it is slow here. It is difficult. I'm going to turn on the SCS and go ahead and fire this. So at first you have all these rocket engines firing, and the only 2 tanks here are 2 corner rockets are emptying completely. Everything else is staying full. So there's just those corner fuel tanks that are being used to power all of the engines. So now we already have 2 rockets empty, and we're barely 200 meters off the ground, and we're already starting to jettison rockets. So there's our first 2. Now the amazing thing about this rocket design is it's extremely easy to build. It will lift off enormous amounts of weight into orbit or into other planets, and I have not found any problems with piloting this. In fact, this will get to orbit every time. And because you're using asparagus staging, obviously the efficiency here is just fantastic. So you can see the rotation, lots and lots of engines being fired here. And we're starting to see we're starting to hear the noise from the rockets hitting the ground. And we're overheating a little bit. So you'll see that this one here is emptying. And then we'll see this one emptying very, very quickly. This is the fastest I've ever seen one of these big tanks being emptied, obviously. And they're almost done. So one more. And the SCS here is, keeping this all very stable. We're also seeing the fins are being used to keep the roll, and this is because the rocket is slightly asymmetric, and so the fins here at the end are keeping everything stable. Once you're in space, you're gonna only have the last row here in the center, and so you're not going to need those fins anymore. So as soon as you eject those two last rocket here, the fins are going to go with it. So that's a good way to keep very good on weight here, and so you only get to space what you need. Okay, and one more. So we're only 300 meters off the ground here, and we're also already jettisoned quite a bit of fuel. But obviously, it takes a lot of fuel to pull all this fuel and all this weight into space. So we're just going well. Obviously, here you could put anything you want. In this case, I put a connector so that I could use this as a fuel station. So what you do is you launch basically 12 of these tanks into space, and then you use it to fuel other spacecrafts as you need from orbit. And obviously you can go to other planets with this, no problem at all. Okay, more. So we're almost done with our first 2 rows here, or first rows on either side. And of course, every time you jettison more rockets, there's less thrusters, less engines to burn gas, so the gas burns a little less quickly than usual. And one more. You can see the tanks falling away here. Not sure if I put some lights on. I did. I actually put some lights on. So this is a night takeoff. And I'm not using mechanical jeb or anything. This is all stock parts. So you can do this with the basic Kerbal. So now we're barely getting to 120. I'm sure there's probably ways to optimize this, but certainly for the part count, this is fairly low part count. And we have more. Every time you jettison more, obviously I'm jettisoning using those solid rocket boosters to help jettison the rocket. So there we go. Should have done this in daytime. So you really you have to keep fairly busy here, just jettisoning these rockets. Now we're finally seeing the top of the stack. And I think I'm going to wait till about 20,000 meters before I start turning. The nice thing about the solid thrusters helping jettison the rockets is that even if you're in the middle of a turn or something, the jettisoning process does not, you don't have those rockets colliding with the main spacecraft or anything. So that's kind of nice. Okay, now we're really starting to pick up some speed. Now we're at 20,000, and I'm gonna hit eject on the last set, and then we're going to start turning here towards 90s. So I'm going to do a 45-degree incline here, something like that. This is another thing that somebody else could probably optimize. But you're seeing a lot of gas being burnt here. Enormous amounts of gas. And there we go. One more. And now I will notice that at some point we're going to get out of the atmosphere and this thing is going to start to twist. And so we're seeing this, the little rudders or wings at the tip are not as effective as before. And so what's happening here is that slowly this slowly we're seeing the craft just kind of rotate. So I'm just gonna keep going and inclining a little bit more here. But we're certainly getting a lot of speed. Oops, sorry. Actually, I intended to go down toward the horizon. And more. Now the nice thing is we're just about to launch our last set. So as soon as we empty the last set here, we'll have one full straight line. So that will be really much easier on the stabilizing, because you're seeing that it is twisting. And so we're at 65. Still going up. And there we go, one more. Okay, and so finally now we have just one single line. I want to get up here outside the atmosphere and then make sure to rocket the rest. Let's go ahead and do this. And you'll notice the fuel resources are plenty. Let's do this. 82. 85. Okay, so we're gonna really go towards the horizon here. And 90, 94. I'll just slowly. There you go. Okay, 99. So I was kind of shooting for 100,000. Oh, and you notice that I have two more tanks there. I'm going to jettison the last two here. Okay, so now, right now I have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I have 14 tanks that are completely full, and I'm just about to get to orbit here. So I'm going to set up my last maneuver, see the point turn. Okay. And almost there. Perfect. Okay. Now this is where having a lot of torque power is really important, because now we're having all this mass to torque around. It's quite a lot of mass. So you just want to make sure that you have a lot of torque power on the top of that rocket. And so we have, right here, we have a bunch of them. Plus we have batteries, and I put a couple of solar panels, but I have a bunch here of nuclear generators. And this helps me torque without needing to worry about the sun. Okay, so we're 1 minute away from the next burn. I'm going to go ahead and accelerate here a little bit while we're not powered. You can see other spacecrafts, and then I'm going to go ahead and shoot up. Just make sure not to go too much, because otherwise you'll. Okay, so we're going very well, and obviously this is pretty massive engines. So we'll keep This is very, very massive engine. It doesn't take a long time to burn through. Okay, let's see what we are here. So I'm now in orbit, 100,000, 88. Whoa, a little low on this side. Let's see if we can 90. So bring it to 95. Okay, so we're at 102, 95 here. I'm officially in orbit. No worries about getting back into the atmosphere. And now we have, let's see what we have here. We have this rocket almost full. So we have 10, 11, and 12, almost 12 tanks completely full into orbit. And plus a little bit of weight here. But 12 tanks into orbit. This is pretty good. Obviously, I've put the 3 lines. I probably could do more, especially if in the future this game is a little faster. Now I'm going to go on the daylight side, just so we can see what we have here. Look at that. Just absolutely fantastic. And I have solar panels. I don't even actually need to deploy them. I have batteries and solar panels, but I went kind of overkill on that. And I have a little shield here for docking, and I have docking shields ports on the side too. Okay, so that's it. This is my design for a fuel station in orbit or anywhere. The way to get the most gas into space that I found, and super easy. No construction is relatively simple, and just cut and paste stuff over and over again. And the launch, everything is super easy. Thank you.